Hi guys, what's going on? And welcome back to another video on Conquerors Blade.
Hey boys and girls, it's KnightStalker here. Welcome along to Conquerors Blade. Check it out. Today, boys and girls, we're doing something just a little bit different. As you've probably just heard, I've got a little bit of a special guest on today's show. We'll call it a show because we're not actually murdering anybody today. Evo, how are you today, my friend?
I'm great, thank you. Nice to be here. This certainly feels a little bit different from getting stuck into the usual Conquerors Blade. And how are you doing?
Oh, not so bad. It's fairly late at night here, but I've got myself a cool alcoholic beverage, and I'm chatting to someone who has been quite instrumental in my own career here on YouTube. So you could say I'm having a pretty good day.
Oh, you make me blush.
Fantastic. So for all the viewers out there, you've obviously been quite instrumental in the development of Conquerors Blade as a viewer's sport on YouTube. You're most certainly the premier YouTube producer of this game at the moment. How did you start with Conquerors Blade?
Well, essentially I started my channel probably about 4 years ago now on a game called Total War Arena, which I'm sure some of your viewers will probably have heard of. I don't know if you've heard of it yourself.
I have, yes. Good game.
Yes. So yeah, it was a good game. Really enjoyed it. Really got into it, and that's really kind of what I set my channel towards. And I was pretty much a solely Total War Arena channel. But then when Total War Arena basically went down the pan and got scrapped, I was kind of all up in the air. I went through this period of sort of a couple of months where really had no clue what to do. I did a few sort of Rome Total War multiplayer battles, just a few random games. Sort of managed to keep the channel going, at just like 100 views a video for a bit, and couldn't settle on anything. Yeah, and then eventually bumped into this Conquerors Blade. I think I first saw a pixelated Apollo video on it. Thought, oh, that looks like fun. We'll give that a go, and got into one of the closed beta testing events. This is back in 2019, I want to say, or 2018. I can't remember when the closed beta sieges were. And the videos proved fairly successful.
Yeah. I suppose at that time there were not many people doing it.
No, exactly. That was it, because they weren't the easiest to get into. I was nagging the community manager, who was at the time was Caden, which some of the Western players will kind of know.
Yes.
And eventually managed to get in, did some videos on that, and yeah, they were kind of okay, not hugely successful. And then, but I ended up doing a few, and I did a few guide videos on it, and they just got a few hundred views. And then I was actually on holiday in Greece at the time when the game released, and all of a sudden, these videos which had only got a few hundred views were the only content on YouTube that you could search for longsword and shield on, or musket gameplay. And so suddenly they just exploded overnight, and the views were just going up and up and up. And that's really how we got started, and unfortunately been lingering around and annoying the CB population ever since.
Unfortunately, you say. Well, it sounds pretty fortunate.
They've been stuck with me for this long.
Oh, well, I'm sure they could do a lot worse, my friend. I'm sure they really could. So it's kind of an accidental story of 0 to 30,000 odd viewers now or something, is it?
Yeah, we're pushing on to the 30k. Hopefully get there soon. We're still a long way off the real dream of that silver play button, though. We've got another 8 years of Conquerors Blade to go yet, I think, before we get that far.
Yeah. Oh, yes. It's 100,000 from memory, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And what about beyond YouTube? Do you stream at all? Are you on Twitch?
Well, I do have a Twitch account, and I probably stream on Twitch once every 3 months or something like that. I'm not a very good streamer. I think part of the problem for me is that it's just time limiting. I work full time still, so trying to get a video out every 2 days and then fit in streaming and stuff is kind of difficult. I also work away quite a lot, so it doesn't really mean I have a very fixed schedule at home. So I can schedule videos, but you obviously can't schedule a live stream and not be there. So it makes it fairly difficult. So yeah, I'm a bad streamer. Better YouTuber than streamer, really.
Yeah, I find the same myself. I find I can concentrate and talk my way through things on one, two, three games and see what's best out of the three. But to live stream for, some of these guys do 8 or 10 hours. I couldn't even do it for 4 and still maintain my normal upkeep of
Yeah,
talking and.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I've done even doing like a 3 hour, or when we did some of the Conquerors Blade League stuff, I think it was about 6 hours or something in total. I was absolutely exhausted by the end. It's yeah, I find it very hard work, far more harder than videos. But maybe I'm just more comfortable doing videos.
Perhaps, yeah, I certainly am as well. And full hats off to those guys who do the streaming for, especially the guys who do it for a full-time job.
Yeah.
It's, people at home might
Oh,
think it's easy to just log in and play video games and have a chat. It is exhausting, absolutely
it really
exhausting.
is. Yeah, because it's so intense. It's like being in a job interview for 6 hours. It's just like that sort of level I
Yeah,
find. But anyway,
that's a
just me. Some
great way.
people like it.
Fair enough. So, mate, you're an old fella like me. What's the attraction of video games and Conqueror's Blade and YouTube? I mean, we didn't even have the internet as kids. It didn't even exist. My kids'
No.
friends don't even believe that my son that their dad is on YouTube and has a couple of thousand viewers and things. How do you find that? How do you reconcile that with yourself?
Yeah, it is a strange one, isn't it? I to go off on a very slight tangent. I remember dial-up, and I remember I used to play RuneScape at the time. This is how kind of sad I was when I was
I
very
love
young.
that game.
Yeah, such a good game. But I used to have to phone my friend's house, talk to his mum, say, "Oh, is Sam in?" Then get on to Sam, and then used to have to say, "Oh, I'll meet you online in 15 minutes." Then you have to unplug the phone. So if anything goes wrong, you then can't communicate with each other. Plug
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
plug in the internet, do the connection, very very slowly load into game, you know, incredibly slow internet speed, and then meet him in game.
That's right. You
Was,
just have to hope call waiting doesn't come through and kick you off.
yes, yeah, yeah. Different times, different times.
Certainly was. It
But
was a
yes,
simpler
it
time.
is. Yeah, it was. I don't know. I think Conqueror's Blade tends to have an older audience by and large. There's definitely a big mix there, but I think compared to some of the younger compared to Minecraft or Fortnite, all that sort of genre of games tends to attract a younger audience. So I don't know. I guess I just enjoy it and sort of accidentally fell into it and don't know. Too committed now, aren't we? I can't really get out even if I wanted to. I don't think.
That's right. There'd be riots, I think, my friend, if you decided to give it away now. Lovely. So tell me a bit about yourself. What do you do? You've talked about you've got a job and responsibilities. What do you do for work?
So I'm a geologist by trade. Mostly sort of in the hydro industry. So I'm a hydrogeologist. We do water boreholes, all that sort of thing. So I spend sort of a lot of time away, looking at drilling rigs a lot of the time, and that sort of thing. So I quite enjoy it. Makes life interesting. It does make it fairly difficult though on the recording side of things when you're often just away in a hotel. And I'm sure some of you may have bumped occasionally into one of my videos where I was really desperate and I've had to record from a hotel room, and you can certainly tell the drop in audio quality.
That's right. The acoustics are fantastic in the Grand Mercure, I've heard. Yeah. Lovely. So, I mean, when you have such a good job and a career path, it would, for me, I don't think I could do YouTube full time because it simply couldn't measure up to my primary career. Do you ever want to be a full time YouTuber?
Yeah, it's a good question. Not necessarily. I think I'm probably quite lucky in the sense that I'm in an industry where there's a fair few consulting roles that can sort of be consulting a few days a week and maybe YouTube a few days a week as well. So there is that potential for a decent mix. But yeah, it's strange when you speak to most people on YouTube. Most people who do YouTube do it as a way of sort of trying to get out of their career path because they're unhappy in whatever job they're in, and sort of can't wait to give it up. But yes, like you, I'm not really hating the full time job, so I'm not desperate to get out of it. So no, not particularly.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough, I guess. Well, what do you do for fun? Do you have some hobbies outside of Conqueror's Blade? Because you seem like to be a whole entire person, not just what we see on the screen. I can be fairly confident of that.
Well, mostly anything if it's got an engine in it, I'm kind of interested. So
Really?
yeah, cars, a little bit of track stuff is kind of something that I enjoy on the side. Into a little bit of climbing. I think actually even behind me you should be able to see a bouldering mat, which I use. I use when it's not being used for climbing. Is used to try and improve the sound acoustics of this room because otherwise it's a little bit echoey.
Hey.
So, so a little bit of climbing, a little bit of car stuff, a little bit of track stuff. Probably my main things I get up to, outside of work and YouTube. And he recently moved into this house I'm in at the moment, so needs a new kitchen, new bathroom. So there's a fair bit of work to do here as well, and that pretty much takes up 24 hours, 7 days a week, to be honest.
Oh, all those adult responsibilities.
I know.
This is going to be a little bit tricky to do in an interview, but somebody asked me, do I have a favourite meme? Can we put your favourite meme up on the screen right now?
Oh goodness, I'll have to dig around then and try and find something.
Tell you
There's
what, why don't
definitely a
we
few
edit
good
that in
Conquerors
later?
Blade ones.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
can do that. Let's do that.
I think that's a little unfair question to put you on the spot like that, to be a little bit fair, but it is
I know
one of
there's
those
some good
things.
CB ones I've seen over the years, but I can't. I'll have to find one.
I have a whole folder of ones I've stolen from Reddit. Try and put some now and then in
Oh,
my
actually,
videos.
I have thought of one. Someone did one of me, which was quite funny actually. Yeah, I've got a
I
good
love
one.
that. It's fantastic. It's kind of funny being a YouTuber. We were just talking earlier about how surreal it is to have people want to watch us, and when you have people making memes about you, it's kind of
Yeah, it's quite.
how does that make you feel?
It's weird. I actually once had someone did a drawing of me, and sent me like a piece of fan art. That was the weirdest. It was yes. I'm not sure they were necessarily an art student, but it was a good effort. And yeah, I made the mistake of showing a few friends, and that is now framed and in the house. So
That's fantastic. Gift ideas for the whole family, I bet.
yes, little bit. Yes, that was interesting. But yeah, it is a strange feeling. I mean, at the end of the day, we're just sort of normal people who sort of fell into this a little bit or had a stab at it, and you don't really
Mm,
expect that kind of thing, really. So it's a bit odd, definitely a bit odd.
it is. It is. Hey, I'm keen to talk now a little bit about our feelings on the state of the game. And I don't want to be negative, but I think maybe if we start with the things that aren't so positive and maybe move on to the positive stuff to end with. How are you feeling
Yeah.
about the balance of Conqueror's Blade at the moment?
So I think we're coming out the other side of a fairly rough patch, is how I would say it. I think if we look back to sort of Axe Raiders is probably the sort of
Ooh.
the lowest point I think on the balance we've had for quite a long time.
Mm,
You know, the time it took to get the balance changes really wasn't very good, and I think a lot of people were pretty unhappy at that point. I think
mm, mm.
since then we have started to see the situation improve. We're seeing balance changes a lot more regularly, and I'm really enjoying the sort of statistical detail we're starting to get with them now. So we're getting,
Yes.
what the average damage is for a unit, what the average play rate is of a unit, and I think we're starting to see much better balance. There's still things to work on there. Obviously, they acknowledged that Keshigs were overpowered, made an adjustment to try and adjust that. I don't think they went quite far enough. So I'm hopeful
Yeah.
that we'll see another sort of fairly small nerf, which should then hopefully start to bring them in line.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of hopeful and fairly confident that we're going to see that now because I think we're starting to see much more regular balance changes. And I think the statistical data is going to show that Keshigs are still too powerful and therefore they shall be adjusted.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm much more hopeful about balance now as we head into season 11 for me. I guess it's season 10 for you, is it?
No, we're heading into season 11. Yeah, but it'll be
Okay.
my 10th season. I started at the very, very end, a couple of days towards the end of season 2. So it'll be, yeah.
Okay. Nice.
So yeah, it's quite nice to see them making minor changes. And if it needs more
Mhm.
changes, make another minor change. I think that's the right approach rather than take things swinging far too far.
Yes, I definitely agree. But there's certainly a speed element that they need to keep up. I think that
Yes.
was the big problem with the Axe Raiders. We got there in the end, but it took, 2 months to get any changes in. And I think that's what aggravated people so long because it was the entire season where one unit was just dominating the whole battlefield.
Yeah, well, I think we can all acknowledge that one. So tell me, I've seen a lot of discussion and heard a lot of discussion about in the PvP choke attacks or anything similar or repeated CC from, especially you're a veteran poleaxe player, you know what I'm talking about. How do you feel that that's affecting the player experience?
It's a good point. The part of the problem with stuns and CC that kind of gets discussed a fair bit about this in this game is, should there be stuns like there are, and how should that work? I think the problem is the game has been built around that as a CC as a mechanic and stuns as a mechanic. So I
Yes.
don't think you can get away from that now, not without redesigning the whole game, because it would just hugely change the balance. And part of it is I suppose you're getting CC in trade for damage. So something like a glaive might have much higher burst damage than a poleaxe, but it has less CC. So you're kind of trading those two between. Although I was against the glaive nerf that we had a season or two ago, I didn't think the glaive was too powerful, but there we go.
Yeah, it almost makes you
Um,
wonder what the stats are showing, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think glaive is probably down a little bit at the moment, along with a few other classes. I think there was some slightly unnecessary nerfs to some of them, which classes that weren't all that powerful. Um, but yeah, poleaxe, I mean, does have a lot of CC. It's a very CC orientated class. I mean, chokes. I don't use rough justice anymore. I use lock up a
Mm.
strike at the moment, which isn't a chokehold ability. I think rough justice we still see occasionally, but I think actually it's not as effective as it once was. When you roll out of it now, it doesn't keep going like it used to. So you used to be able to rough justice, then roll behind someone and bet to corb in while they're still stuck in the chokehold. So you can't do that anymore. So I think that's kind of changed a little bit for the better. It's really just dual blades that can kind of do it now, but obviously a very soft class, and if you can get a unit on top of them, they do die really rather quickly. So by and large, bar the sort of few really very, very high level and very, very skilled dual blades that you get, I don't find them overly threatening.
Fair enough too. Well, how about we talk about something a little bit more positive now? Now, I want to talk about the future of the game.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've got season 11 coming out, and we've got the Banner Knights, we've got the Chevaliers, I believe the Tier 5 are, and the Alchemists. Which of
Yes.
those units are you most looking forward to?
I mean, I am a sucker for a good tier 4 melee infantry. I do love things like paladins and stuff like that, which incidentally I've started to enjoy again. So probably the Banner Knights. I just hope they're a decent infantry as well as giving the sort of AOE buff. Well, we don't exactly know what benefits we're going to be getting with this banner yet, but
Yes.
hopefully, as long as they've got some decent melee capability as well, then I think that I'll probably be quite looking forward to them. I think.
That's brilliant, yeah. I think that's probably the premier unit of the season upcoming. I'd say the one that most people are looking forward to. When you hear another T5 Cav, you shrug your shoulders and you think, "Oh, it's another one." Uh, what about the Alchemists? What do you think they're going to be like?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? I was slightly nervous when they said explosive. I'm not quite sure what that's going to mean. Hopefully, that's more of a Senji explosive than it is what are the coconut lads called? A
That'll do.
Zyklanian militia.
The
Yeah.
Camel Nuts boys, yep.
Um, yeah, those ones. So yeah, hopefully they're not too powerful on the explosive, but a healing unit sounds interesting. Be interesting to see how much heal they apply and how much heal they can apply in a fight as well. If they're in a
Yes.
big blob and they can sort of AoE heal 100 units, then that's going to be quite interesting, I think. Particularly when you
Absolutely.
combine that with something like a Claymore's damage reduction or something like that, and then a set of bagpipes as well. So
Yep.
that could be quite a stack of buffs.
Yeah. Especially with a longsword, say, just as choosing a random
Yeah,
class.
yeah, yeah.
Lovely. So, if CB was to release a new hero weapon, what would you like to see? I'm sure you get asked this question a lot. I certainly do.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been quite nice with the Scottish season to have a Claymore.
Oh, yes.
I suppose the risk is you go too close to something like an Adachi, but I think you could have made it unique enough. I think that would have been quite an interesting one to have. You could have had it as a sort of a Claymore, or almost it can sort of double as like a Zwei handler, whatever the sort of the Germanic two-handed sort of sword equivalent is.
The wiggly one.
So I think that would have been probably quite interesting.
Indeed, indeed. Oh, well, that's a very good choice. A lot of people are mentioning the two-handed weapons there. And say that you were the CB designers and you were going to add a new, what should we call them? In Warhammer, you might call it a race or a culture. What culture would you add to Conquerors Blade were it your decision?
Well, I mean, it's hard to not go for British, isn't it? It would be nice. If people are sort of familiar with some of my videos, you'll know that when we have sort of new seasonal units, I ended up trying to find all the sort of royalty-free military and historic music that I can on that sort of culture. So I've been diving in a little bit to some of the Scottish music all this season. So
I really like that.
My British playlists. Yeah, I like doing that. So my British playlist is quite large and ready to go. So I'm kind of hoping, got my fingers crossed. I've got all the British Grenadiers lined up and everything. So it's
yeah. There's a coming soon slot. Yeah. It's been coming soon for 3 years now, but it's coming, right?
Yes, yeah. It's got to come one day. They'll run out of countries, so sooner or later.
There's only 200 of them or something, right?
Yes. Yeah. One day.
And it'd be lovely to play with them too, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah. And I mean, that would be the veteran longbows, surely. I would have thought that would be that tier 5 archer unit slot. Yeah. Would feel perfectly in that.
The Welsh warbow, quite made of yew.
That'd be really quite cool.
I agree. That would be absolute top flight, shall we say.
It would.
So we were talking a little bit earlier that we should maybe one day catch up and play some games together, in the same team. We'll get in, we'll murder some people. And I think some of the viewers at home would be very appreciative of that. We did come across the obvious one of that we play on different servers, but should we ask the people to comment below on whether or not they would like to see us, have a game together? Do you think that won't be popular?
Yeah, I think that could be quite interesting. I'm certainly up for that. Yeah, see what people think. If people are interested, then do ask down below. I guess we may end up on low level accounts, but
we may
pull out, some rat and vipers. I can't remember what it was. I voted for you to have to play on one of your community polls a few weeks back.
Yeah. To make me suffer, I believe.
That may come back to bite me if we end up having to play rat and vipers. So.
Indeed, and we'll have to see if we can get a press account or something like that. But
that would be nice. That would certainly be quite cool.
If we get enough likes, if we get enough comments, I think we might be able to pull something together, right?
Yeah, I think we can give something a whirl. I think that would be quite good fun if people are interested in that. So do let us know.
Lovely. All right, well, Evo, we're coming up now to about 25-minute video, depending on how we get cut. So I think perhaps it might be time to go. So thank you so much for coming and talking to me today. It's been really appreciated. You were the inspiration for me to create my own YouTube channel. So it's been really great having you here.
Oh, my pleasure. It's been good fun. I've enjoyed it. I've not really done anything sort of podcasty like this much before, so always great to get stuck into something like this. So no, thank you for having me on.
Thank you very much. And don't forget, boys and girls, we're going to put Evo's YouTube link and his Twitch link down in the description below. So if you've been living under a rock and you don't know who Evo is, I strongly recommend you go and check him out. Thank you, Evo. It's been fantastic having you.
Brilliant. Thanks.
Have a good day, mate. Bye-bye. Well, boys and girls, I hope you learned something new or you just enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for coming to my channel.